Listen, are you ready for Reggie's expression? Feel a little more with Reggie's expression. Calm down where the talk is real. Reggie's expression. Never neglecting how you feel. Reggie's expression. This is Reggie's expression. This is Reggie's expression.
Last week, I think I did some effects. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but I'm gonna try to see. I don't know when it edited and it did it. Woo! It's cause for celebration. Yes. I hope y'all can hear that. So it didn't just sound odd, but cause for celebration because I'm back here week 2. I got a lot of good feedback from people that I care about the episode. And that made me want to get back into, recording it. I'm not thinking about how often and how long I will go through this whole process or whatever. I'm just here, letting the wind take me wherever way it's supposed to go. So that doesn't mean I'm not going to have structure, with the conversations that I have and have a specific topic. It just means that, don't hold me to weekly or bi-weekly or whatever. It's just going to be when I feel compelled. So, but yes, I'm back this week. Thank you to everybody that listened and downloaded the episode for sure. I really appreciate it. And I felt like there was a level of vulnerability that was had and shared amongst everybody that listened to it. And I must say so myself, the audio quality was really good. So, yeah. But this week, what are we bringing to the table this week? Bringing to the table growing old or getting older, whichever perspective one may think of aging to be. Ultimately, it's aging. I'm 43 years old. My husband is older than I am. And, in the last 10 years that we've been together, we've seen a few things that has happened to us that has indicated that we are evolving into different people than we were before. Now, there are things that happen, that can impact change, like, losing a friend, losing a family member, seeing things around your friend group happen, ending a friendship that happened. It was a lot of, changes that happen in life that kind of hit you and it's like, oh, damn, it's not going to be this way forever. It has you thinking about your mortality and what that looks like. Often people make jokes about turning 40 and I make a joke about the warranty running out at 40. And, having aches and pains and stuff like that you never had before, or that you had and you just never really paid attention to, because you were younger. You could get up at 6 o'clock in the morning after going to bed at 3 and, get through the day, as opposed to now, shit. I get up at 7, by 3:30, I'm burned out. I'm tired. You know what I'm saying? And, being easily triggered and emotionally triggered from just seeing things happen, you now as you're, as an adult with tools to be able to protect yourself, whether it be from therapy or whatever, you really do have to protect your mental, your peace of mind at all costs. So, just with the kind of world we happen to be and, all the things that are going on, it's just so much that we have to, do to maintain our sanity, if you will. So, my husband for probably the last 6.5 years has had, a medical ailment that, recently got diagnosed. I think it was in 2021, 2022, if I'm not mistaken. He has really severe arthritis and, just standard pains daily. He's been working since he was 11 years old, and a good portion of that work has been physical labor. So, you know, as one would expect, being the age that he is, he's been working again since he was a kid, 11 years old. You would expect those things, but, expect those things to happen to your body. But how does that affect the relationship? You know, without going into detail, for those of you who may be with a spouse or a partner, who deals with, those type of, ailments, whether it be arthritis or other types of physical impairments, it can be tough sometimes, to be compassionate about, about something that is constant, because that thing can be looked at as a nuisance, you know, if you're being completely honest, you being someone of sound mind, healthy mind, being able to, take care of yourself in a way, having to, you know, be there, in a way for another person, can take a lot of things, in you that you aren't taught. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not taught how to take care of people, in a physical way. We're talked about, emotionally loving someone and being there for them and things that aren't like tangible. Like, so it could be very difficult to transition from that, blissful place or place of, before pain to dealing, or coming to a place that involves pain. I hope that I'm making sense. But ultimately what I'm trying to say is there was a clear period in our relationship where Carlos and I went from, able body, adults who could get on roller coasters and, yeah, we'll be jerked around a little bit to going to, too much trauma to his body sometimes could just be days of pain for him. So that can be very difficult. And a lot of that stuff does come with age, the time of age, and some of it is genetics, but nonetheless, it can be very jarring because it seems like overnight your life goes from, a sense of like ableism or being able-bodied to almost morphing into, a burden, overnight. And that's difficult. It sucks to say those things in the way that I'm saying it. And I feel horrible saying it that way, but I'm being real with you guys in a way that, I feel like is old. I love my husband, but I don't love the pains that he's in often. There's times where it stopped us from being able to, do certain things and, have certain, aspects of our lives, that I enjoyed and loved, when in the beginning that, it's just not possible for us to go that way again because of the pains that he has. And, part of it is just trying to figure out what your new normal is. And sometimes, the person who's in pain could be focused on the idea of going back to the way it was before and being stuck in that moment rather than, dealing with the aspect of, hey, yeah, this could be my life forever, but it's okay. I'm going to do things to try to make, life easier and better for me by just being, aware that, hey, this is my circumstances now. And then if it changes, I would just be willing to change with it, So it's easier said than done. When you're not the person that's dealing with those hurts and pains, it's easy to say, oh, well, this is life, change it. When that person, happens to be in pain, and I'm just talking about pain. It could be anything. It could be mental. It could be, I'm talking about physical. It could be, emotional. It could be, something that can't be quantified by the eye, that could cause your spouse to change or, evolve into something completely different. And you just have to be mindful of that process, when you make your vows, one of the things they say, until death do us part, you have to really value and consider what that means for you, because, at a drop of a dime, it could all change, it could change completely. Um, but yeah, it's tough. I think that, you know, the arts, music, and, just day to day life, we talk about how, people change and changing being a bad thing, especially in relationships, but we're framing it from a place of change, but it's really evolution. No one person is the same. There are going to be things, indelible situations that happen in your life that will change you, whether it's good or bad. It's going to happen. But to be naive, to think that it's only change isn't really capturing the depth of life. I mean, I wish my dad would be 73 years old, same ass man as he was when he became an adult. My dad would not be able to have the conversations and stuff and have the relationship that we have now, because he wouldn't have the capacity to be able to handle it. So change in life is inevitable. It will happen whether we embrace it or not. And we have to understand that some change is going to be warranted and some change is not going to be warranted. And, if you're on this side of the world, what I mean, like above ground, you're going to experience it. It's just a matter of how you're going to respond to that change. So, I'm noticing that with age, among myself and someone who's in therapy, someone who, is cerebral in my thought process. I notice that, that becomes a struggle too, you know, because you start thinking of things like, when does it end? When do I stop evolving and changing? And me being the person that I am, I'm open to just new information. So if there's something that comes in that challenges my thought process on something and it makes like sense and it's logical, I will be willing to change my perspective because of new information. And, sometimes that could be looked at as wishy-washy. But for me, it's like, hey, I know more. And as a result of me knowing more, I'm going to change my perspective. So, and all of this is just tick marks of growing older. When you know, there are specific changes that happen in your life that we have created as a culture. And a part of that is like, okay, when you leave your 20s, I think the 20s sometimes get tied up into your teenage years. But, when you transition from teens to your 20s, and then from your 20s to your 30s, and then from 30 to 40, there's also a transition from 40 to 50. And then, the rest of it is just considered, growing old or older. And I have, had specific milestones from transitioning from my 20s to my 30s. Very specific. Like I remember, what was going on. This was in 2010, 2011 time frame. And I remember being very intentional about relationships at that point, me wanting to, have relationships, meaningful relationship, long-term relationships, because I've had many, some that have maybe been 3 or 4 months. It's so funny because as a kid, I was like, I never dated when I was in high school, but when I became an adult, I dated a lot, and I was in relationships quite often that I was thinking about it in a way like, I was saying to myself, like, damn, I never really dated much. And then I started thinking of like some of the suitors that I've met and been with over the years. I was like, that's not really that true, Reggie. You dated some men. You've been in relationships. And I went from a guy when I was younger, not dating in high school to, being a chronic dater, a serial dater, if you will, prior to meeting, 2 significant relationships prior to Carlos. So I've always been a relationship person, but yeah, I remember, turning 30 and just feeling like life was changing, mostly because my perspective was different. I had grown older and my perspective on life was a little bit different. I cared a little less and I was intentional about decisions that I was making in my life. I wanted to have a career that was going to give me longevity. Like I was thinking about retirement. I was thinking about, saving, which, saving part didn't come until like maybe a few years ago. But, you know, those were some of the conversations that I was having. And then by the time I was 33, I was out of my second, significant relationship involved with Carlos. And, that, is where I started to be. I made the decision like, hey, I want to be in a long-term relationship and be with somebody that I'm going to be able to travel with and have fun with. And, we're on the same page when it comes to certain things. And that led to marriage, and that took me from 33 until now, being the age of 43. And, I shortly thereafter bought a house. That's a big milestone, And these are things that I just felt like I needed to do as a person, as an adult. I was, a lot of people my age were going through like, okay, you got to have a family, got to buy a house, you got to, have all these things, ownership. And, very early on in our relationship, a few months after me and Carlos got married, we were like 9 months in and we were already looking for a house, and it just all seemed organic. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, losing jobs, we both lost jobs, during that 10-year period we've been together. We've had ups and downs. We've had things that have happened in our relationship that has caused us to kind of change the trajectory of how we see our relationship and, move away from traditionalism in a way and move to a place of unlearning behavior that doesn't serve me, that I might have learned and that might have been core values of mine because of my upbringing. And, starting to become even more intentional about people that I became friends with. My friends list, although can be vast and I have people that I communicate, frequently, having a core of folks that I really just kind of am cool with and that I expect to speak to, semi-regularly, you know what I'm saying? And, I got to a place like I for a long time, I had one friend that I talked to on a consistent basis. Right. And that person was always there for birthday parties. They were there for the wedding, even said some nice things at the wedding. That has been consistent in my life. And, at one point it just became me and that one person. And then recently I added, 2 more friends, which they wanted me to shout them out. So Burjo and Ayana, have become 2 more friends that I speak to on a semi-regular or regular basis where we talk about life stuff and, I make them laugh and joke and be silly sometimes about just my perspective in life. And, they have become, friends and I was going to say business partners, but partners in business in the sense that they, drop knowledge in terms of being a successful business owner. So my circle is small. Not to say that if I call Tamika right now, she won't answer. She will. That's the homie. I've known her since high school. Not saying that, if I call Rosalva in California, that she won't be like, "What up, Reg?" Not saying any of those, any of that. I'm just saying that, the people that I talk to consistently in my circle are those 3 people that I mentioned, and my husband. I mean, my husband, that's implied. And getting to a place of like, used to be like, man, I don't have any friends, till now, like, okay, I'm cool with the ones that I got. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, our relationships with my friends may be flawed in some instances. I sometimes might get mad about something that I'm sensitive about or whatever. But the idea sometimes is just to understand and know that they didn't mean it by harm. They don't necessarily have to apologize for something that was said or done. You just, hey, this is how I felt. Let's move on. You know, I don't want this to be a sense of contention for both of us, but that was something that bothered me, and being able to have a conversation and not, shy away from what the consequences of those conversations are. Sometimes friends do make you mad, and that's okay. But, now that I'm in my 40s, I realize how much of a privilege it is to grow old. You know what I'm saying? I think that perspective for me kind of changed when my friend Darlena passed away. She was 37 when she died. Just turned 37. Didn't even really get an opportunity. Didn't get an opportunity to enjoy her 37th birthday, and that made me realize my own mortality too, in a sense that, obviously you're not, like, you are going to die at some point. You just don't know how, when, where. And my dad always says, you don't know the hour, you don't know the time, you don't know when. You just know it's going to happen, and it's not in your hands. So I think her passing kind of, got me thinking of my own mortality, and then my mom even more. And then it started to, the world started to feel, claustrophobic, because it was just like a lot of my friends around me were also growing old, and, they were dealing with deaths or, the aging of their parents. Last week I mentioned to y'all, talking to my dad about, him growing older and what that felt like for me. And, I have a lot of friends that are going through that too. And it could be off-putting in a way that, you aren't prepared for. And it really just takes, just a good bit of therapy to really get you past that point. Like, cause dealing with aging, at its core, like it being in front of you is intense. Like, I look at Rico, my dog Rico, who's 16. Is he 16? 15 years old. 15. Like Carlos, I was about to call him. Carlos Carri. Rico is a lively dog. He still can be at times. But now Rico sleeps, I would say, 23 out of the 24 hours. He is in pain. He jolts a lot from the arthritis. He really just loves to have his own place of, like, he don't like to be bothered. He don't like to be touched too much. He's just we call him a weird dog, but I mean, in reality, it's just him showing us what age is. You know what I'm saying? 15 years old for a dog, a Chihuahua, is old, and, I still feel like he has a little bit of spryness in him, but I can see it slowing down, and it just breaks my heart when I see it, because it's just like, oh, because I've had Rico since he was 2 months old, and to see him going through those things, I mean, we treat him with medicine. Some works, some doesn't, and at this point, we just want him to be as peaceful as he possibly can. So we kind of let him do what he wants. Sometimes we do have to, like, wag our finger at him, because, he might poop in the cage because he can't hold it as long as he used to. And yeah, it's just really, it's a little sad to see. But I say that to say, seeing aging like that happen just seemed like all of a sudden just so, like, in your face. It was like, oh, Rico was normal. And then, like, the very next day, he's in pain, and the doctors was like, well, there's not a whole lot we can really do, and we ain't even thinking about putting him down. That's what aging is like. Aging isn't an issue until it is. You be like, damn, man, you get to 40, be like, oh shit, why does my knee hurt? Oh my gosh, damn, that hurts really bad, you know? Or it's like, damn, why am I sleepy and it's 8:30? Man, I'm gonna go ahead and take this nap. You know what I'm saying? Like, your boy at this point, like, I've been napping for a long time. It's been a part of my life for a while now. So, I'm not planning on getting rid of it. But if your boy don't have his nap, like yesterday, like I did have a little one. I had like a 40-minute one. And I tell you, after we got done with that wedding yesterday, we crashed and burned. Like, we came home and, I was sleepy. We ate, I was kind of sleeping. I'm like, I'm ready to go to bed. So It's okay. And those are things that you deal with when you get older. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with age. I mean, these things are happening to me at 40. I know friends that it's happening to at like 38 and, 35, because life be life, and man, it's so much shit to be going on in this damn world that's just exhausting and tiring and frustrating and angry and, has you on the keys and toes of your emotions all the freaking time. So, but aging definitely is a privilege. It is a gift. Sometimes can be seen as a curse, especially if you're someone who's dealing with ailments, as I mentioned before. And the one thing I will say that I enjoy as a person who's aging is I feel a lot more comfortable in my skin than I did in the past. You know, I still have my core concerns, or not concerns, but I still have my core like triggers in my life that are things that, um, just came from, being in the past, or, from trauma in the past. Like with this new job, I experienced imposter syndrome. I still experience that. And that seems to happen every time I transition into a new position, because it's like, can I do it? Somebody's going to find out if I can't. But I really enjoyed the wisdom that I feel has come with my life. And the wisdom, it definitely comes with age, but there's a part of wisdom that also comes with seeking the truth, and just being honest about your experience, being intentional about sharing your experience with others, being intentional about, caring for others and involving people in your space, and protecting your center as much as you possibly can. You got to be intentional with those things. And, I like to think of myself as a very, I don't know, for lack of better word, I call myself earthy, because I really am like, or maybe a hippie in a way, because I really do believe that everything is connected, you know. I'm not completely sold on the idea of there being a God that, that wants us to suffer. There's some things with believing in God that doesn't necessarily align with, the person that I am today. And I'm not going to get preachy about it. I just, there's some things that I think that that are unexplainable when it comes to the Bible and humankind, or the human race. Like it's certain things, that I don't necessarily get or understand. So, but I feel like I'm a very earthy person. Like I feel like, energies, they transcend themselves. And if I'm having a bad day, I can set that tone to Carlos and he can have a bad day. And I do feel like energies can travel through the phone. I do believe that, I do believe in gentle parenting. I do believe in leading with kindness. I do believe in making sure that you tell people when they ask you, how are you feeling? You ask that question. You know what I'm saying? Like, you answer that question. Like, how am I feeling? Taking the moment to really think about that before, answering and saying, I'm okay. Being, intentional about asking people about their experience and trying to be the best person you can be by leading with compassion, love, and kindness, you know? Considering we live in a world that, leads with drama all the freaking time. Like, you go on TikTok, you're going to see some type of drama being drummed up, from these think pieces and video essays that people put out, that sometimes life don't have to be that serious all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, tone it down a bit, you know? And, if these people who are, creating that drama, the older they get, the more they realize that life ain't all of that. You know what I'm saying? The only type of drama I want in my life is the drama that I see on freaking TV that I pay for, I don't want like real drama in my life. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, you know, as I've gotten older, some of the drama that happens in your life can be self-induced because of your perspective of things. And, you're always going to have the things that trigger you as a person that, has come from childhood or, adolescenthood or whatever, that have happened. And, that's why you got to get a therapist so you can sort through that stuff and they can tell you how much of that is actually truthful and how much of that is like just your defense mechanism. So, but yeah, I'm a believer of all things are connected. I'm a believer of, be the best person you can be, lead with kindness. I'm all about that, and my mantra is just really to, you know, do something that I feel good about, you know, and go with that, you know, don't kill nobody. Don't abuse anybody. Don't put your hands on anybody. Don't do it. Keep your hands to yourself. It's that basic for me. And love. Allow yourself to be open enough to receive love. There are a lot of us that are hurt around here who are afraid to open their hearts because they've been hurt. And that person that you're with right now just wants to be a part of your world and you're making it difficult. Open your heart. It's okay to love and lost. Right? It's okay to love somebody and it not necessarily work out the way that you wanted it to. It's okay. It's okay for that to happen. So, but yeah, I appreciate you guys again for listening to the podcast episode. Thank you so much. I hope this is helpful to y'all. It's definitely helpful for me because these are things that I think about often. Things I be trying to offload on TikTok that don't get no traction. People be like, shut up, 10 minutes of nothing. But for those of you who are looking to get older, my recommendation is don't rush it. Enjoy your life, have fun, whatever that may mean. Try things, before you write them off. Don't be afraid to be you. If you're in a place where you feel like you cannot be you, then you need to get out of that place and just love, leave with love, man. Leave with love. So, all right, guys, that is all I got. I'm going to give you guys an adieu. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you for listening. Share it to your friends, your family, all of them. Again, you can find me on TikTok, Reggie's Expressions, REGGEES Expressions. And then on Facebook, you got RARELEL Socorro Garner, SOCORRO GARNER on Facebook. Instagram is ARE.EL.Socorro Garner. All right, guys. Enjoy your day. Peace.